This is the Pan Am Football Show with your hosts, Max Dean.
We will get better at this.
Seth Tootin.
Hey, sorry, I was disconnected there for a second.
And Jeff Hudson.
I am the worst of assholes.
Join them as they talk about football in the most professional way.
We were supposed to record an episode 3 hours ago.
In a somewhat professional way.
So I didn't hear any of that last bit.
In a completely unprofessional way.
The only way is up.
Welcome to the Pan Am Football Show. I'm Max Dean, and as always on our weekly Thursday night preview show, 1,400 miles away to my left, we have Seth Tootin. How are we doing, Seth?
Doing good, Max. How are you?
I'm doing well. I'm tired. It's Thanksgiving today. We had some food, we had some drink, we had some cigars, and all around I'm pretty beat up, pretty tired. And of course we had some football. How was your Thanksgiving this year?
Solid, uneventful.
Yeah, uneventful is what I would say as well. I didn't get to actually watch much live football because of all the family stuff. And the most that I would have gotten to watch, of course, ended up being postponed since the primetime games, or the primetime game didn't happen. But we'll get to that shortly.
Yeah, same. Not too much live football for me either, but managed to get a little bit watched before or once the date kind of wound down a little bit, so that was good. But at this point, this time frame is so in the middle of my evening. I went to bed at 9:30, 10 o'clock, and just set an alarm for 12:45. So we're just doing this as a break in the evening.
Gotcha. Okay, cool. Well, we're going to knock this out quick because I'm tired, you're tired. I have a warm bed waiting for me. So today's show is our weekly preview show, and of course our Thursday review. We have 2 games to cover today before picking all of the games for the upcoming week. First and foremost, you sipping on anything, or you already did all your imbibing today?
I have some leftover basil from when I dozed off watching earlier, so I'm drinking the rest of that basil Hayden.
Nice. I already had plenty. I mean, I had some beer earlier and a couple of different bourbons as well, so I don't even have coffee because I'm just gonna hit the hay after this, and I don't think I can drink anymore, especially after that big ol' Dominican cigar. So, all right, leads us straight into the first game of the day. We had the Texans visiting the Lions in the first disappointment of the classic Thanksgiving team, the Detroit Lions, hosting a game that they rarely seem to win. But so the Texans were driven pretty much by Lamar Jackson. So that's how tired I am. By
Deshaun Watson.
You want to help me out? Yeah, Deshaun Watson's today. He had a bunch of deep completions. Will Fuller had a couple of big ones. Brandon Cooks as well. And then Duke Johnson in the receiving game had himself a day as well. You know, it kind of seemed like, again, the Lions were missing their 2 biggest offensive pieces. But if you're a good coach, you can't be uncompetitive just because you're missing those guys. Like, I know it's hard to win without players that impactful, but you can't just not show up without them. You know what I mean?
Indeed, and they definitely didn't show up. But that's the Lions' MO for years, bud.
Unfortunately, so that's.
Are you going to tell us it's time for Patricia to go?
No, well, look, I don't really call for coaches to be fired mid-season. I generally don't do that. So I won't really be calling for it until the season's over. He's going to be probably a Black Monday casualty, but
3 out of 32, but he's not calling for him, folks.
Well, it is what it is. I think it's kind of just it's in the
honestly,
cards. It's it's scheduled in, it's penciled in on the Detroit Lions off-season schedule as a first order of business. Release Matt Patricia. Second order of business, hire a new coach. So, fortunately, we're not quite there yet. But all three of us go for what were you saying?
I was just going to say, I think as far as this Thanksgiving game goes, this was just two mediocre teams playing some football. As you said, I mean, again, you're right. The coaching thing's going to wait to the end of the season. That's not really something that's going to happen in the near future. And so, in essence, this game was pretty much irrelevant in the sense that it's not. There was not any implications for playoffs. There's not implications for big players. There's not implications about coaching. It just kind of was a game of football on Thanksgiving that meant virtually nothing.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that it was without implication. It's just there's a trajectory that we're looking at, and no one did anything to really change it on either side of the ball.
In a 16-game sports season.
Yeah, exactly.
In the grand scheme, this was as irrelevant as you could figure out how to make yourselves on a primetime holiday.
Pretty much. The Lions are heading towards basically being a non-factor in the NFL for another season. Nothing changed. Matt Patricia is heading towards being released. Nothing changed. Deshaun Watson is a good quarterback. Again, nothing's changed that narrative.
How are we doing picks?
All three of us took Houston, so
cool.
We all hit that. Leading us into the second game, which was a little bit more of a back and forth early. We saw them trading scores, keeping it pretty.
I was like, wow, this is a good game.
Yeah, they kept it pretty tight for about the first half, and as we entered the second half and went on from there, it started to really devolve in terms of the favorability for the Dallas Cowboys. This is something that I kind of saw coming. They're a team that does not seem to be able to formulate any kind of consistency. And so just when they come out, have a good game, and get fans on board, that's exactly when they just drop the ball. And I think it was almost exactly what I said was going to happen. The football team is just a more consistent team headed by Ron Rivera. They do lack some talent, but they don't have the ups and downs. And you can kind of trust them to beat a bad football team at this point in the season. Yeah, early on, maybe not the case while they were figuring out the quarterback situation. But now they've got Alex Smith in there. They've got the guys kind of coming together. They've kind of dictated what they want their tone as a football team to be. And I think they'll be better next year, hopefully. But all is going to depend on that quarterback situation. So, again,
honestly, things were going back and forth until the Zeke unassisted fumble in the end of the second quarter.
Yeah, that was not good.
Like a literal dropping of the ball.
I'm not sure what's up with him. I mean, and the funny thing is, he still looks explosive at times as a runner, but he's just not overall good, and certainly not worth the price tag that he's being paid. And conversely, Antonio Gibson looked awesome on the other side of the ball, or on the other team, I should say. But so I picked Washington. You guys both picked Dallas. So this was a game up for me early on, which I desperately need after a terrible week of picks last week. So, do you have any other notes for the Washington football team's win over the Dallas Cowboys?
Nah.
All right. It's going to lead us into what would have been the final game of Thanksgiving. However, that was postponed, and it has recently come out that now Lamar Jackson has tested positive for COVID-19, along with a bunch of their best players. So, I picked Pittsburgh for that game. I'm sticking with it. I'm sure Jeff is sticking with his Pittsburgh pick. This is your opportunity, Seth. Are you going to jump on the Steeler Nation bandwagon?
I wouldn't be jumping on a bandwagon per se if they're going to make us play the game down 15 starters. I mean, yeah, if we're playing with none of our professional football players in a professional football game, the likelihood of us having success is minimal.
Right. So just say it. Who's going to win the game?
Basically, if none of our professional players are playing, then obviously the Baltimore Ravens professional football team is not going to have a chance. So no, I cannot pick them to win the game.
All right. So they're going to be playing it, I believe, at 1:15 this Sunday. Again, assuming they're able to actually play the game. We talked about it already, so I don't think there's much else to say. I think that without Lamar Jackson in there, they really don't stand a chance against the vaunted Steelers defense at this point.
Oh, hell no. I mean, and honestly, even maybe bigger than that are going to be some of the holes on the secondary.
Yep.
Like Marlon Humphrey and some of those guys. Like, that's going to be a bigger issue.
Yeah. So this will be the first time that a team is really, truly affected by the loss of players on a large scale. So we'll see how that goes. Okay. In another... I was going to say one-sided, but who the hell knows at this point. The Miami Dolphins at the New York Jets, 1 o'clock on CBS this Sunday. The Jets have looked better. Not nearly as good as the Dolphins have looked over the past month, except for last week. So it's hard to say. I feel like the Dolphins are ready to bounce back. I feel like the Dolphins are a better coached team. I mean, I am going to pick Miami in this game, but it's not as easy of a pick as I would have thought. What do you think?
I had to blow my nose. I'm back now. I believe that, unfortunately, your Jets just can't get it done. Dolphins certainly don't have a lot going on, but they have some potential. And against a team like the Jets, they're going to find enough to get it done. So, yeah, I pick the Dolphins.
All right, Jeff is also picking the Dolphins in that game. I think they're going to put Tua back into the lineup. I feel like it'll be a bounce-back week. I think the Jets' defense is probably not going to be able to hang. It may be close. It may be a closer game, but I just feel like the Jets will find a way to lose, which, of course, if any of you have been listening along over the past...
But unfortunately, y'all don't have the pass rush to contain Tua in the same way that he was last week.
Yeah, I think that is very much true. That's probably the biggest weakness of the Jets' entire team at this point.
Yeah, and unfortunately, that's really the only thing that you really... That's where you could really get to the young guy, and with him having all the time in the world, his skill set's too good. You know, he's eventually going to beat you guys.
Yeah, I would agree. All right, New York Giants at the Cincinnati Bengals, 1 o'clock on Fox. I think this one's pretty easy to pick with Joe Burrow out. It would have been a tougher call before, but I'm not sure Ryan Finley's got what it takes to...
Honestly, I'm not even sure if it's a tough call before. I think it's almost just you go, all right, Bengals get one here.
Yeah, I mean, maybe.
With the way Burrow had been playing, like if this game had played last week, like I think that'd have been a really tempting Bengals pick. It's really unfortunate. It
is unfortunate. I mean, I wouldn't have been easy for me to pick just because the Giants' defense has been playing pretty well. I mean, I probably would have leaned in favor of the Bengals, but now it's like...
I mean, were we really going to say the New York Football Giants were going to win 3 consecutive games? And, like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not a storyline from this season. You would have had to pick the Bengals. But as it is now, you got to pick the Giants. I mean, again, a professional football team playing without a professional player at a certain position is not going to go well.
Yeah,
I mean, and no offense to Ryan Finley, but...
No, I think part of it also is just watching that game last week, the way that the whole team just deflated when he went out. I have a hard time seeing them rally. Yeah. But all right, Jeff took the Giants as well. Okay, now how about A bit of a closer matchup. This was a fun game a few weeks back on Thursday night. Now we've got a rematch in Indianapolis. We have the Tennessee Titans going to visit division rival Indianapolis Colts. Both teams have the same record at 7-3. The Colts currently hold the tiebreaker. Who do you think is going to walk away as the AFC South division leader after Week 12? Nice.
Oh, boy. I'm going to have to go with Tennessee Titans.
Really? Okay. I'm taking Indianapolis. Jeff is taking Tennessee as well, so I'm standing alone on the Indianapolis hill.
I'd have taken the Tennessee hill all to my lonesome. I felt good on that hill.
Well, you know,
I don't feel as good about the hill when Jeff decides to walk up it sometimes. I don't know what that is. Sorry, Jeff.
You know, I feel like the Colts aren't getting enough love, man. They have a good record. You know, they have more than double as many wins as they have losses. They've taken down good teams. They beat the Packers last week. You know,
I would agree entirely. For me, it's a little bit more about the fact that the Titans are better than the last time they played, and I feel like the Colts are similar to where they played last time. And I think if these two teams play at their peak potentials, the Titans' peak potential is a little bit higher and a little bit more consistent than the Colts. And having watched the Titans last week and whatnot, I think Tannehill's definitely playing with more awareness than he was during the stretch when they played the Colts. And obviously Henry's in a groove. So I think it's more about the Titans are going to play better in this game than they did before. And it was a couple small things here or there that I feel like the Titans are going to overcome, and they're going to get this one.
Yeah, we'll see. I mean, I think their defense has played a little bit better over the last couple of weeks, but I'm going to ride with the Colts. I'm still feeling good about them as a whole. Like I've said before, I think they're probably the most complete team in the NFL, except for maybe the Pittsburgh Steelers. And the quarterback is a bit of a weakness, but if they protect well and you don't get a lot of pressure on him, he will pick you apart. So I'm taking Indianapolis. All right, Arizona Cardinals at the New England Patriots. I'm going to go Arizona here, even though I hate to pick against New England in really any situation, just because they're, even at their worst, they're still surprising us with wins over quality teams. But, you know, I think picking New England at this point is kind of like trying to be too smart for your own good, because the Cardinals are playing very well, and the Patriots are kinda sometimes. So I think, you know, defensively they're going to have a hard time containing Cardinals, and it's going to come down to, you know, how focused and how present is Cam for the game, you know, because he can change a game. Even though he's not the same guy he was, he can really turn things in the favor of his team. But if he doesn't, he doesn't. What about you?
I would have to agree. I pick Kyler Murray.
Jeff is running with the Cardinals as well. Picking a lot of the same teams here. All right.
But I think in that situation, unfortunately, you're looking at two crappy defenses. And are you going to think Cam Newton has find success? Or are you going to trust Kyler Murray to find success?
Yeah,
and for the most part this season, Kyler Murray's had near MVP numbers in certain situations. So you got to go with that hot hand.
Yeah, I'm feeling it. I'm feeling Murray. Okay. Next up, the Carolina Panthers at the Minnesota Vikings. This is one where we might get some differing opinions. Jeff took Minnesota.
Like, sweet. I'm glad I know what I took before I got there. That's always helpful.
You know, I think Teddy Bridgewater should probably be back for this game. I think. That's a question. Give me your opinion while I look it up real quick.
As of right now, it's sort of saying Teddy's supposed to be back, but there's still some questions.
He says he expects him to be back against the Vikings.
This one's so tough, man. I mean, on the Vikings side of the ball, you got Kirk Cousins, who's been playing very well recently, like kind of quietly, playing very clean football. And obviously Dalvin Cook has run very well up until kind of last week was a little bit more contained. Panthers defense, not super stout against the run, but doing all right. And the whole Teddy Bridgewater bouncing back thing, is that a good thing or a bad thing? Because honestly, P.J. Walker has some serious success at times.
Well, he's got... Great. This is fantastic stuff here. Well, P.J. Walker has maybe more upside, but I think there's no question that Teddy Bridgewater is the better player. All right, so who you taking?
I'm going to go with the Minnesota Vikings.
All right, I'm taking Carolina. Get a little bit of change up. It's a hard one for me to pick. I'm going to roll with Carolina. Obviously, Minnesota can be fairly explosive on offense in a few different ways.
I think the big question is McCaffrey back again?
I don't know, but I don't think that it's going to change my opinion on him.
Sure.
Opinion on the team. Let's see. McCaffrey injury. Not expected to play versus Vikings.
Yeah, that's what I thought.
I'm still keeping the Carolina Panthers just for some variety. I don't feel like it's so one-sided that I don't feel comfortable taking a flyer. Okay. The Cleveland Browns at the Jacksonville Jaguars. This is certainly a game that I know who I want to win badly. I would love for the Jaguars to win. The Browns looked not that great against the Eagles, but they still managed to win, so I'm going to pick them to win this game. But I am really hoping, because I'm not really sure who else the Jaguars even have a shot to win against over the course of the season. So I'm hoping that they can pull one out here, because, of course, any game that the Jaguars win this season just puts a little bit more cushion between the Jets potentially giving up that first overall pick. So things could change technically, but if the Jaguars and the Jets finish with the same record, the Jets will lose out that first overall pick due to the strength of schedule tiebreaker. And as it stands...
And how could a storyline be more Jet-like than that?
Yeah, well, they certainly could lose the first overall pick. It wouldn't surprise me. It's certainly not a done deal.
The NFL still don't get the number one pick. Welcome to New York.
I think that, a lot of people are making the assumption that it's going to happen, but there are still 6 games left to play, and things could very, very well turn out not in their favor. Now, again, it may not be the end of the world. There are other good players. Justin Fields looks like a very good player, but I certainly know what my preference is. However, I think Cleveland is the better team overall. Jeff's taking Cleveland. You're taking Cleveland, as I am taking Cleveland.
Next game.
The Los Angeles Chargers at the Buffalo Bills. This will be a fun one. I think we're going to be seeing some quarterback duking it out deep. You got a couple of big, strong-arm guys who like to chuck the ball down the field. So
it's going to be a shootout.
I think so. I think the Buffalo team overall is better. I also think they're better coached, so I am going to pick them to win the game.
Yes.
But in terms of competitiveness in-game, I think it's going to be there, and it's just I'm going to trust the better team and the better coaching staff to close it out. So, especially because the Bills do have a better defense. They have better secondary players. The Chargers secondary was exposed a little bit, not just against the Jets only, but when a team that's not very good does it to you, it just highlights it, I would say.
Yeah, and that's a situation, too, where you have the more experienced quarterback going up against the less functional secondary.
Mm-hmm.
So in that situation, Josh Allen wins the game, as do the Buffalo Bills.
Okay. And I think we all know who Jeff is
Bills
going
too.
for. I don't think we comment. The Las Vegas Raiders at the Atlanta Falcons. This is a clear case of the Jets, Jeff running with the homer pick there. He's picked the Falcons, and I'm not really sure that there's any way that you can, like,
No, you can't really.
pick the Falcons and look at yourself in the mirror and tell yourself that it's, because you really think they're going to win. Because while it's certainly possible, it's not the most likely outcome. The Raiders have been playing very well. They hung with the Chiefs. They're better than the Falcons in most ways. They have the ability to score. They have the ability to grind it out. And they have the ability to, not shut you down on defense, but they have the ability to make life hard for you. They have the ability to play, complementary football to their own strengths. So I'm taking the Raiders, and I'm pretty confident in that one as well.
I'm also taking the Raiders. Just move along.
All right. Just a few more left. San Francisco 49ers at the Los Angeles Rams. I haven't checked into who is coming back for the 49ers. I'm not sure it really matters at this point because even if one or two guys are coming back, it's not going to make the difference. And the Rams are pretty hot right now. They're looking like one of the better teams in the NFC.
All of a sudden, the Rams look good, huh?
Are you? Let me ask you something. Did you put down the Rams as a playoff team this year?
I can't remember, but I remember I was on the bubble with it, but I think I did not.
Yeah, I think not as well. I don't think any of us did, but
I think it's a hard out there out west. There's just there's a couple perennial favorites and whatnot.
Right.
Tough division, etc.
Without knowing that if the 49ers were going to be so injury plagued, it's hard to pick against them. And to be honest, even if they weren't injury plagued, I still do think that they're a better overall team. So
yeah, it's hard pick against Shanahan. He does a really good job scheming, but that's another sense where McVay's though young, another great head coach, and there's an element of really, picking the coaching staff and picking good decisions in the late games and stuff like that. And there's some crazy stat. I'm gonna butcher the numbers, but McVay's basically never lost a game that he's been he has never lost a game that he's been a head coach and had a lead going into the second half. And it's up to 30 games or something like that, or, enough that it's starting to become notable.
Wow, that's impressive. So I'm taking the Rams as well, as is Jeff.
So there's a bit of finishing and closing the game out, which is something we've talked about teams struggling with a lot. So that was kind of a neat statistic.
Yeah, absolutely. They are in the lead still for the division. Let me just check what we've got here for the NFC West. Because I think they have a 7-3 record, and I think the Seahawks also have a 7-3 record. So with their win, they have the tiebreaker as of right now, I believe. But I want to double check before I make any. Yep, they are in the lead for the division at the moment. So I think this game will allow them to maintain that. All right, the New Orleans Saints at the Denver Broncos. I guess we're going to be riding with Taysom Hill again, but I don't really see that as being an issue. Certainly not against the Denver Broncos.
Yeah, I would have to agree with that. I wasn't even sure that you were like waiting for me to talk. I was so like, yeah, that sounds like a rhetorical question.
Well, I'm my
I mean, the Saints are going to stop the run game, and frankly, that's kind of where the Broncos have found what little success that they have found.
Yeah.
So, in combination with that, yeah, New Orleans Saints win the game.
Yeah, I think they're getting hot at the right time. Okay, Jets. I don't know why I keep saying Jets when I'm trying to say Jeff. Just that kind of sleepy. All right. Jeff also took the New Orleans Saints, one of his many bandwagon teams, so it's no surprise. Okay, the final non-primetime game of the week. We have the Kansas City Chiefs at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. An interesting game. We have the greatest of all time versus the, I don't want to say probable, but convincing future greatest of all time based on what he's been doing so far in his career. Who do you trust, Bruce Arians or Andy Reid? Patrick Mahomes or Tom Brady?
Andy Reid.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. It's.
I mean, honestly, it's a tougher question. You asked me the Super Bowl or the Super Bowl, the quarterback names, partially because of the rings. But when you ask me that head coach question, yeah, stick with Kansas City.
You know, they are the hot hand at the moment. I have a hard time seeing anyone beat them. The Buccaneers can hang in terms of scoring. Question is, will they? You know, because sometimes they can get down, and once they get down, I think they struggle.
Yeah, you get Brady ruffled up, and
yeah, we'll see.
At this point right now, the Brady ruffled up, he doesn't come back from as well.
No, I mean, if Chris Jones and Frank Clark have their way with him, man, it's over. So it's really going to depend on how well they can protect him and how quickly he can get the ball out. Will the Chiefs get to an early lead? But honestly, the Chiefs are a team that you can pretty much bank on to win from ahead or from behind. So it's just tough to pick against them. All right, the Chicago Bears at the Green Bay Packers on Sunday Night Football. I mean,
Aaron Rodgers, primetime Sunday night against a questionable Chicago Bears team and Matt Nagy's decision-making. Packers will try to give the game away, I'm sure, at least once with their current play style, but the Bears are unable to take advantage, and the Packers win.
Yeah, I'm with you. I think that the Packers they need to tighten up some turnover issues. They've been able to score enough points regularly that it hasn't, cost them a lot of games. The Bears' defense is pretty solid, and they're stingy, and they like to force turnovers as well. So it could easily turn into a game with quite a few turnovers. However, I still am not going to pick against Rodgers in this particular situation, just because I feel like after a loss last week, he's going to be protecting the ball a bit more, especially against a division rival. But I don't think this is going to, be any kind of threat to the Packers leading the division through the rest of the season. So Packers it is for me, Packers it is for Jeff. That leads us to the final game of the week. We have the Seattle Seahawks at the Philadelphia Eagles on Monday Night Football. This game could get really, really ugly. The Eagles just seem to be falling farther and farther and farther down the hole, and the Seahawks are looking pretty good despite having a pretty rough defense for a lot of the season so far. I feel like they're going to be able to hold it down versus the Eagles, and I think that the Seahawks are going to be able to score quite a few points in this game. So I think that it's going to be a Monday night game that's maybe competitive through the first half, and then just I think there's going to be at least one half where it's not competitive. Could be the first, could be the second, but at some point the Seahawks are really going to separate themselves. Did I lose you?
No, I sneezed and I muted myself and then got distracted. But yes, Eagles have no chance here. Russ cooks. Russ wins. Seattle continues trying to move forward in a positive direction, but the Eagles are not going to be the speed bump.
All right. Jeff picks the Seattle Seahawks as well. That was quick and easy, quick and dirty Thanksgiving Day Pan Am Football Show Week 12 preview. Thanks for listening, and we will see you on Tuesday.
Cheers, fellas.
Thank you for listening to the Pan Am Football Show. If you would like to reach out to us, please email panamfootball@gmail.com. Any questions we receive, we will answer on air. We also have a Facebook account at Pan Am Football. We have an Instagram account at panam_football. My Twitter account is going to be Maximus Drinks, all one word. Seth's account is going to be The Main Event, THEMAINEVNT. Seth can be reached on Twitter at _JHUDZON_. And the Pan Am Football Show can be reached at Pan Am Football, all one word. Big thanks to Johnny V for our theme music. Couldn't do it without you.